Stuart Nash.
Mr Chairman, let me tell you a story about a member in this House who was driving on a street in Whangarei on Friday evening at 5:30 with his wife and his 4-year-old daughter and his 13-year-old daughter. A woman ran a stop sign, smack into the side of his truck, wrote the truck off. He phoned up the police. Heaven forbid there was no one injured, thank goodness. He phoned up the police. The police said, "We're too busy to come." This was one street away from the brand new Whangarei police station that the minister had opened. One street away from the police station, and the police said to him, "We're too busy to come, but make sure you report it to the police within 72 hours. Now, the witnesses that came and this member himself smelt alcohol on this woman's breath, and the police were too busy to come. Now, I ask you, is this the sort of service we expect from our police? Is this the sort of society we have now come to? Mr Goff has told about 6 stories of New Zealanders in trouble. So what do New Zealanders do when they're in trouble? We learn from as soon as we can dial the phone to dial 111. Every single one of Mr Goff's people did that, and no one turned up because the police are too busy. Mr Speaker, whenever a minister assumes a portfolio, he or she is given something called a briefing to an incoming minister. Judith Collins got one when she reassumed the police ministry in November, and the #1 priority in that BIM was not solving crime, was not resolution rates, it wasn't more cops, wasn't more stations, it was fiscal sustainability. The police sent a very clear message to the minister that we are in trouble. We do not have enough money to do the job. And Mr Speaker, we can see this in the crime stats, and we can also see this in the messages the police themselves are sending us. Now, I want to say I have immense respect for the police officers who keep our communities safe. They are hugely committed, they are very passionate about their communities, but they are stretched. And Mr Speaker, in the biennial Police Association survey, last undertaken in December of last year, 74% of Police Association members said they're dissatisfied with the number of frontline staff. 74% dissatisfied with frontline staff, and 86% of Police Association members, so these are the police themselves, have said that frontline officers are under-resourced. But even worse, I think, is 27% of police, so that's 1 in 4 police officers, believe there is a risk of service failure at the front line due to recent cuts. We have a real problem, Mr Speaker, Mr Chair, and this needs to be addressed by giving the police the resources they require to do the job. Mr Speaker, recently, in last month, March of this year I should say, Counties Manukau Crime Prevention Manager blamed the media for the increase in burglaries. He said, quote, "The media around burglaries has been one of the contributing factors to the increase in burglaries because people think it's a crime they can get away with," end of quote. Well, Mr Speaker, I don't believe that criminals undertake a detailed risk analysis to determine what they can and can't get away with. But what I would say, Mr Speaker, is that the media's analysis of this has perhaps led to a waning in general confidence of the police. And this is something that needs to be addressed under urgency. In fact, from 2013 to 2015, the public's trust and confidence in the police dropped from 81% to 75%. Now, admittedly, that's a lot higher than, say, the 25% that politicians get. But, Mr Speaker, firemen have public trust and confidence level of 93% and ambulance officers 92%. Sir Robert Peel said, "The public is the police and the police is the public." The police do operate well when the public believe that communities are safe. When they see, Mr Speaker, that only 8.7% of burglaries in Wellington are solved, then they have good reason to be concerned. When they see that about 6% of all burglaries in Auckland are solved, then they have reason to be concerned. And Mr Speaker, there are basically 2 facets to policing. You've got the traditional, let's lock them up, and then you've got the community policing. And what we have seen just recently is that community policing drop considerably and the confidence in the police wane.
Lewis a Wall.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.